Call the meeting to order at 7:02. This is the regular meeting of council, the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in council chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba. This 25th day of July 2023 at 7:02 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Gade, councillors Brian Burick, Carrie, Blosha, Terry, Neely, Brad Kushniryk, Raymond McGregor, and Byron Zbirun. Joining us tonight, because our interim CIO is away, is Finance Officer Lisa Boyko, and our videographer is here tonight as well, Mr. Jeremy Birkin. We'll hop into our agenda at number 2, because everybody's here, we don't have any absences to approve. Be it resolved, the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 25th day of July 2023 shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Kushniryk and Councillor Neely. Does anyone have any additions or changes to the agenda they'd like to propose? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That is carried. We're skipping number 3 tonight. We don't have minutes. In number 4, we do have a delegation planned for a little later on this evening, 7:15. The Swan Valley Legacy Committee is intending to join us. So we'll move to 5.1 general business in the meantime. Be it resolved that the Manitoba Fire Department training reports be received and that payment be approved for check 19030 to 19044 in the amount of $3,342.50 and voided checks 19027 to 19029 be noted. Is there a mover for that resolution? Councillor Burick, someone to second the resolution. Councillor Zbirun. So attached there are firemen's training reports. Now you may recall we saw some of these last meeting. We did see 3 of them. There was a little miscommunication on the training reports. There were more of them attached to the email than we initially saw. So these are the ones that were not approved at the last meeting. So the summary sheets there, unfortunately, kind of crooked. That I think we saw before, but these actual training reports that are attached show the different training events, who attended them, the hours it was used, and if there's any mileage as well. So that's all there for council's information. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That is carried. We move to the business of a subdivision, 5.2. Whereas the owners of Southwest 283529 West has made application to subdivide a 13.03 acre parcel, therefore be it resolved that the council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approve the subdivision. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha, does someone wish to second that? Councillor Zbirun. Discussion. There's an attachment here for council that sort of shows the area and such. There was also a question about taxes, if they had been paid. You'll find...
Wrong door.
Is it this door?
I think it's back. You'll find there is a private attachment there showing the taxes have indeed been paid, which was a requirement of doing the subdivision.
Is this new land that they just had purchased, or?
From what I understand, no, because they had taxes owing on it previously.
Okay.
That they had to pay before we'd let them subdivide.
Okay.
So I assume they must have owned the bigger piece and then taken a chunk off it.
Okay.
I see some nods around the table, so I think
I think that's what.
I think that was kind of the goal they were up to there. Let's wait for Councillor Neely to get back in case he has questions on it. Any discussion?
That's just the young harness?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are they building a house there or something, or what?
Well, they built a new house already. I don't know if it's exactly there, but
Oh, okay.
No government departments had any kind of issues, I see.
no, the letter said it was good.
I guess far be it for us to do.
Yeah.
I'd hate to come something up. If the government agreed, that's the hard part. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That's carried. I should note, just as we move to the next item, there was a public hearing scheduled for June 27th, which we failed to hold. So we did ask for advice from planning on if we could hold it now. They didn't get back to us in time for tonight's evening. So we haven't done that, but we do need at some point to catch up that public hearing. Nobody came to attend it here, but we failed to open and close the public hearing like we should have. And so we have to catch that up at some point, and that will come to you soon. Hopefully it will be on our next agenda, but we're also gauging how urgent the application was, if we need to have a special meeting for it, but we'll figure something out so we don't hold the people up through our mistake. 5.3, the Swan Valley Airport Commission. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the annual levy of $40,773 to the Swan Valley Municipal Airport Commission. Is there a mover for the resolution? Councillor Neely. Someone to second the resolution? Councillor Burick. A copy of the statement is there. They provided us the budget earlier on. We've seen that. So this is just the formality of approving it for payment. Councillor Neely.
I missed that. I was away for a couple of meetings when all this was coming through, and I looked on my iPad, I can't find it. I thought I had it on here one time. But what did they finally end up with? Like, how did they come up with the formula?
So what happened, I attended the airport commission meeting that night. We discussed it for a while. I asked questions about how many hours we had spent at airport commission discussing it, and the answer was excessive. So I brought forward a resolution that said the airport commission would put no further effort into changing the formula. If the municipalities wanted to change, it was the responsibilities of the municipal councils to do it, not the airport commission.
So it's
Still the same as it was billed the same as
they
it was.
wanted full assessment or something, right?
They didn't
And
get
so
that.
now it's population.
I think it's 50-50 still,
Yeah.
is what it was. Minnetonka's had originally said unless it changed, they were out. They've rescinded that. And we, at the meeting, we asked for the accounting of what the difference would be in the numbers, and it was a few $1,000s. And so Minnetonka's and I spoke at the meeting a little bit. I said, like, are we really going to continue this for a couple $1,000s? Because we've tied up meeting after meeting.
Yeah.
And the thought was, airport commission's done with it. If the councils feel strongly, councils can take it up with each other directly, but airport commission isn't gonna put more time into it at those meetings.
50% assessment, 50% population. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? We'll take a stab at the financial items coming up to 7:15 here. I think we'll probably be through them, but if we have to, we'll stop in the middle and go to our delegation. General checks. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General checks number 19045 and 19057 to 19078, the amount of $93,159.20. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Neely. The check listing is there. I've split out the one invoice for you already for the Cook Brothers, but I do have all of the invoices here for the other ones. If there's any questions, feel free. A couple things I can note on the checklist. You're not seeing yours is kind of weird because obviously different people doing this week. I have a list that looks more like the normal ones. There's a bunch voided during printing. These are actually fireman's checks that have been done, so that's different numbers. And there were a few spoiled during printing today, so they're noted here. And later on in the meeting, we'll deal with the fact that our signatory is away. And so some of these checks do have signatures, but some do not. So we'll work on that in a future agenda item here. Of note in these, there's a Bell MTS one here for $12.97. It's classified as late payment charges, which concerns me because I don't like the idea of us ever paying anything late. We have money in the bank, we shouldn't be paying late fees. So I have undertaken that I will work with our folks to find out why that's happening and rectify that, so we don't have that issue going forward. Brant Tractors here as well. It's showing that it is grader blades, carbide blades, looks like 4 of them, $750 list price, our price was $566. There's a refund for a lottery license. That's kind of a long story, but they've worked on that for a while, and the gentleman felt it was particularly important he had his $20 back. So we have, here to serve, I believe is what that goes under, so we will refund the $20 for the lottery license. They have assured us the lottery was not actually held, which was what the requirement to get a refund. What else is interesting here? Sometimes the check's the best part, aren't they? The Manitoba Hydro check, that's the $113.58. That's the only bill that's not part of our standard billing, so that one comes separately. Councillor Blosha.
Yeah, I can't tell you a number here, but it
That's
says SVW 10.
Okay, I have an idea what it is. Is it, let me get a number. here.
35 Railway Avenue?
This is it. Yes, utility payments.
I would like to know what that's about.
It's the water bill for 2935 Railway Avenue, which is, oh, sorry,
There's
two of them, also for 87 Railway Avenue. So this would it be the rink is one of them,
Okay,
and
okay.
the other one would be the fire hall or the shop.
Okay,
87, it'd
they're
be-
both on Railway Avenue,
Yeah.
okay. I just thought hadn't seen something like that before, and I wondered, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. A&M Trading Company, we have fuel commission and some dust control. Yes, go
I
ahead.
got one more.
Okay.
SWAO2, is that
How much is the amount?
Third one from the bottom.
10,238?
Swan River Golf and Country Club.
Yeah.
Community Foundation of Swan Valley pass-through.
Oh, okay, so it was
Grants.
it's an in and out kind of.
The note here says outdoor washrooms.
Okay, so that
it's
was a
grant
donation.
Received from
Okay,
foundation.
no,
Yeah,
I'm just
going through.
wondering.
There's a dust control invoice here on this AMM one. That is for some dust control we picked up on their second visit. A few streets in Kenville and also one private area that was done for dust control.
When was that done? Does it say when it was done?
July 5th. OSS is our recycling charges. Consumers Co-op here is mostly fuel. Golf Club we talked about. Town of Swan River, you'll note a payment there. There's a $500 rewrite because someone paid a bill here that was really the town's bill, so we're passing that money over to them. The JTL Backhoe Services is here. It's 17,934. I didn't think to scan it, but I do have what it is. There's Road 173, Thunder Hill area. I've got.
Oh, it's actually listed in our thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
actually
Oh.
itemized.
Perfect. So
Where's
you already
it?
got it.
It's like, well, it's all itemized.
Yeah.
What are we doing at the Veneta landfill? I thought
That's the
Oh,
cover.
there it
we
is,
have to
okay.
do every
he
month.
shared me.
We have to cover every month now to maintain our license. I think we
Oh,
actually have
that's
to
the
cover.
stuff we got from Spruce Products?
Yes, but Jason goes out there and pushes it and covers. And there's also sand here for cover as well, for the summer months. So the sand was $5.50 a yard. We bought 80 yards by the look of it.
100. Says 100 yards in our itemized thing.
You say that's just in the summer we have to do this?
We have to cover it always, but sand doesn't work in the winter because it freezes solid. So we have to use wood chips in the winter and sand or something.
So
in
we
the
still
summer.
have to, once a month, we have to,
And I think it may be more than
year round.
once a month. Just don't quote me on the once a month part. I'm thinking it's every week or 2 weeks that we're required to cover it. The license officially says daily, but through agreement with environment, we don't have to do it daily because it's too much.
Well, it used to be for awful or whatever, you had to cover that stuff up, but I mean,
It's a new world. There's a battery house invoice for a Magna charge. I looked into that to see what it was. It's actually a battery. You'll notice there's a payment for $3.79 to Decor and Gift 330 Paper. So that's the new name for an existing business, and that was Page Protectors. There's pancake breakfast donations. This is a pass-through as well, so folks that donated at the pancake breakfast and wanted receipts were receipted here. That money is now being passed along to the Firemen's Association to hold for now. Printer bill is here to support local ads, the Star and Times, the utility bill, and there's $150 roughly to tax service relating to one property that's in tax sale. Any other questions on checks tonight? Hearing none, then we'll call the question on the resolution. Those in favor? That is carried. I see our time is now after 7:15, so we're going to abandon at 6:1. And we will certainly go to 4:1 now. We have a delegation tonight.
Hello.
This is a delegation for way of explanation to Council of the Swan Valley Legacy Committee. So you probably already know, but in case you don't or have forgotten, I'll remind you. This is a committee of, I believe it's almost 60 individuals, if not more.
Yes, so we've had up to 60 people attend our meetings, and our executive, I think,
So-
we rounded out at.
Essentially, the committee is looking into building a new arena in the Swan River area. And they've worked with the town of Swan River on this, so we don't maybe see a repeat of what happened with the pool. So this is a more community-led effort, so it's not town council doing it. I did have some discussions with town council in the past, and I've relayed the message to them from Swan Valley West that the feeling at our table is that if we're not at least kept up to date of what's going on with the rink as it's being built, we will have little appetite in sharing the cost of running the rink. So I asked that we receive a presentation tonight, not only to find out what's happening, but also to find out if there's a role we should play in what's happening and what we should do. And the president of the group is joining us tonight, Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica Lacasse, I'm the president of the Swan Valley Legacy Committee. We have members from in town, from the RM, and from Minnetonka's Bozeman, so we have a pretty good well-rounded board. A lot of the board was chosen because of their knowledge or experience in any given area, so I'll kind of read through my little blurb, and if there's any questions, we'll go from there. And then please keep in mind, it's very early in the process. We've spent a lot of time really just trying to ensure that we have really good processes and structures so that we do not have a repeat of the pool. Like, that's everybody's goal. So we're ensuring like that all our communication processes, how information flows, how the decisions get made, how money gets spent, how everything is very structured and clear. Okay, so I came today because I was invited again, so I believe Bill was talking with one of the town councillors, so they, again, so our process is that because we're partnering for the town, theoretically, it is their facility, it's their structure. However, they've basically contracted us to take on that project, and therefore, any official communications regarding the arena project will come through the Legacy Committee. We have an agreement for that. So the Swan Valley Legacy Committee was conceived on February 13th when a group of capable and motivated people came together to determine how to support the town in improving our local arena. After a brief meeting, it was determined that the passionate residents and local businesses were unable to support a retrofit due to growing costs and rather were interested in working together towards a new arena facility. The group was determined to meet again, but under a clear goal of community involvement and shared purpose. So given that improving recreational opportunities in the town of Swan River is a challenge, and the valley, it is even a greater challenge, the group decided to form the Swan Valley Legacy Committee. We would act as a vehicle for community action to improve recreational activities in the valley as a whole. The Swan Valley Arena project is the first and likely the largest effort, but will not be the last project of the committee. On March 23rd, the Swan Valley Legacy Committee elected executive board with direction and supervision of the group's activities, as well as our important partnership with the town. The purpose was also clarified, and that is to work collaboratively on recreation projects benefiting the Swan Valley, and the arena will be our first. So in continuing to come together informally, the committee met again April 6th, and this meeting defined the working committees of the Swan Valley Legacy Committee, as well as identified the chairs on the committees from the approximately 50 members in attendance. Some of the committees of significance are the MOU committee, so this group is chaired by Clayton Mahalchuk, and he'll speak on behalf, like when we're negotiating this agreement with the town, so they've designated reps and we have designated reps, and just that group is involved in that piece. They have legal counsel and we have legal counsel. So MOU committee, and so that's going to work with the town on mutual beneficial and clear partnership plan, as well as a fundraising committee that will coordinate and apply for grants, as well as oversee special events. We kind of made one committee out of this. So I have here corporate and ag, but it's just a different person. And he's going to be liaising with large and small business as well as municipal partners on behalf of the Swan Valley Legacy Committee. So again, should the RM of Swan River want to come on board more formally and work out what your role could be, so then we would have a designated rep and that would be involved with that fundraising piece. And again, we would assume you guys would do the same, and then you would talk about like where is there room to fit, or how would you like to fit, or what opportunities are you able to access that we're not able to access. And that's kind of why the committee wanted to come together too, because there's certain grants that the community can apply for, that incorporated can apply for, that nonprofits that can apply for, that municipalities can apply for. So we wanted to make sure we had a good chance of getting, especially external money, right? We only have so much money in the community. There's lots of priorities. We have lots of needs. So we're like, what's our best opportunity to get like basically big external dollars? That's ultimately our goal. And then lastly, our most important committee is our design and build. So that one's chaired by Tyler Mullen, and again, Clayton Mahalchuk's on that one. And I think there's probably 15 or 20 guys that meet regularly. Like, they're looking at arenas, they're looking at this, they're talking to people, they're looking at what worked here, what worked there, what did this one cost, what did that one cost, what would we need. And then they also work really closely with the town staff to see what are we able to like sustain, fix, operate, afford to run, like all that kind of thing. We can't build something that inevitably the town can't afford to fix or run. So there's groups kind of all working in all these specific areas, and they would know a lot more about those challenges than I would. So in preparing to partner with the town on this large and exciting project, we have applied for and received incorporated status. So this enables the committee to apply for larger grants. And in the future, this ability will be afforded for the community use through the project. So like once we have gone through all the trouble, got all this like incorporation, nonprofit, etc., after this project, the committee will continue, and then we're going to pick another project, and then another group won't have to go through all those same steps or try to do that again just for all these relatively short-term projects. We're hoping the committee will just keep rolling, and ideally we'll get better at it and be better connected. We have 6 executive members, including a president, 2 vice chairs, a treasurer, and a financial advisors, and a secretary, a director's board, and then as well as general members. General members can attend information meetings, assist with the committee roles, and then volunteer for events. The chairs lead their own working committees and have their own tasks, and of course they report back to the larger group where any decisions get made. And we meet monthly. So far we're meeting monthly, but again, as things, it'll just go based on the necessity of meeting. Larger membership meetings are held twice annually to ensure members are up to date. Regarding our partnership with the town, we have designated 4 reps to communicate, and they have also designated reps who are responsible for communicating with our group. The designated reps will be working with our group to ensure the meeting is operational and user requirements of the town at critical points as determined and agreed upon by both. We're getting to the point where significant pre-construction funding is required to proceed. And again, that number, so how much money do you need right now? Like, we imagine it's like between 200 and 500,000 again to work with all the architects and engineers to get all the papers, to get the specs, to get the tender, to inevitably come up with a cost estimate of what the project will entail and how much it'll cost and what you'll get for that money. So we're still a little bit of ways from that. We expect a decision here shortly in response to a grant submitted by the town of Swan River for funding. And with that decision, which we're expecting could come by the end of this month, things should move pretty quickly. The committee has contracted with a construction manager to assist with the tender requests. Again, it's a really, really big job. The guys are doing as much as they can during a busy construction season, and they're all construction related fields. So they're gonna get a little bit of help just to move things along quicker. And while this first grant, should we get it, is a significant amount of funding, it's not gonna be enough. It's not expected to be enough by half. So therefore, there will be continuing fundraising efforts. So obviously we're hoping for a lot of community involvement, RM involvement. That being said, it's not our goal to be shaking down everybody in town for cash. We're looking for big external grants. And we did just meet with Rick, and it sounds like there's 2 more big grants coming down the pipe potentially, we have to wait to see what happens with this money, what happens with that money, who applies, who's ready, who's not ready, et cetera, et cetera. There's potentially going to be another phase to the funding that we've already applied for, as well as the feds have another big grant coming, and all these things require matching. So between those 3 grants, like we'd be within a spot where community fundraising, it would be sufficient. Just because, again, it is such a big project that even if you're away by 3 million, you can't do anything, because like, what are you gonna do? So we're hoping definitely to get more news in the fall, and then that's gonna be fine timing for us, because we're not expected to have those documents required for tender or estimate until November. That's when we're hoping to have something, a picture, a cost, the specs, all that stuff should be ready by then. And yeah, we're really excited to work with this community project and what potentially could be a template for other community and municipal cooperation in the future. Derek was sharing that he's looked all over in Canada and wherever to try to find another agreement or partnership, kind of like the one that we're taking on, and it doesn't seem to be any evidence of one. So on one hand, that's exciting. It's exciting to try things and work together and try to find new ways to solve old problems, but at the same time, obviously, it's intimidating because it's a huge project for us all, right? And yeah, and again, just once this is done, the Legacy Committee, his goal is to continue, again, past the arena, to look at, well, what does this community need or that community need? And ideally, those would be much smaller projects, like 100,000 or 300,000, but like just very tackleable type projects. So we're hoping there's a really good synergy here that works well. We just got to get past this first 3 years. So yeah, that's all I'm able to share. I don't know anything. Like I said, there's lots and lots of work happening in the background. Everybody's doing their best to ensure whatever we have is appropriate for the valley and affordable and funded for the most part. Again, I don't think anybody thinks it's realistic to look for millions of dollars in our home community. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Councillor, who has questions?
When do they plan to start this if everything goes good next?
Like the first big step, step that will happen, it will be kind of like this kickoff, is the status of this first grant. So this first grant, if it comes, which will be like we're within a week, we're very, if that happens, things are going to start moving really quickly. But that one's just over 6 million. So if that money comes through, because the town's already committed just over 3 million, and they've applied for a grant for just over 3 million, and it's all or nothing, because either you get both or you get none, right? So then we would already be kind of like at 6 million, which is a reasonable number, but it's not enough to build
They wouldn't be able to
an
start
arena.
any kind of construction until
We
next
could start all the
spring,
significant pre-construction. Like I said, there's still probably $500,000 in expenses there just to get the drawings to apply for the next grant,
then. Yeah.
for the next 3 to
So
4
they'll be
million.
using the old arena for this.
Oh yeah, for this
winter
season,
coming
for
up,
sure. Yeah, for sure. We'd be, and like, I don't deal with any of that side of it, but like we don't even expect to have the drawings or the estimates until November of this year. Like that's just to have an idea of what would be included in this new facility, and all that's of course based on what can we afford and what could we maintain in the future, like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road.
Did you tell us an estimated total? No.
No,
You
what I
don't- you
did
don't
say
have an
is we're
estimated total.
expecting that if we get the 6 million, we're gonna be about halfway there. I suspect we'll need at least another 6 million, but will we need another 2 to 3 million after that? So that was kind of what we're hearing too, is of course with COVID and shortages and inflation, like obviously construction prices are going higher. So if we thought we needed 12 million, what is that really gonna be? Is it gonna be 15? But we won't know that until November, and that's when those, the actual people that would be doing the actual work will say, this is what this is gonna cost you, and this is what you can get. So that's November, like, and then that's again, where we'll really be having to, chase down, and it's big money, like, it's not to say we don't, obviously we want small, as much community, contribution as possible, so we anticipate there'll be lots of community groups and organizations and individuals that will be happy to be contributing, but inevitably we need like those big government grants, like we're hoping still a federal one is gonna come through between now and January, and we're anticipating potentially another provincial one is gonna come through between now and December. So if those 3 big grants come through, then all this little community fundraising is, well, for the most
Top it
part,
off.
it'll just, yeah, that'll be like, you get a little bit better of this or a little bit better of that, or again, somebody gets their name on something and that's really great. But for the most part, it's this big external dollars that we're really, at this time requiring. And again, it's such a complicated project. So it's just so much money, and inevitably things have to go so quickly because that the money's not gonna sit there for forever. Like you get a year or 18 months to start like using that money, and at the same time you can't commit to $12 million if you only have 9. Anyway, so it should be very interesting. But right at this time we're feeling positive, and we're feeling like we have a really, really good shot at the next 2 that are coming. So
Just the $3 million from the town of Swan River. Can you speak to the source of that? Like, is that?
Well, like, so with the retrofit, I think the town had put in or requested, or I'm not, again, I don't know what their legal process is, but it was 2.7 something. And then for this grant, the town applied for a grant on behalf of, well, themselves and the Legacy Committee. And as part of that, it was a matched fund. So I believe there's a resolution for 3.1.
So essentially, I think the answer is the town is putting 3.1 million of local tax money in to match the provincial grant. So that's kind of where the town's at, what they're doing. Do you know the answer for that $3 million grant?
No, we're expecting. We've been told an answer will be coming. We
Some
were
people in this
expecting
room do
by.
know the answer.
I'm not allowed to
Yeah.
discuss anything until there's an announcement and
So-
things.
But we can discuss that in camera later for the rest of council's benefit. But the answer is, there's a date for the announcement, whatever it should be. So I guess the other question from us is, if Swan Valley West had a role in it, what would the view of that be? What would the committee think they would ask for from Swan Valley West? And we're not saying we're here to write a check, but we don't want to dismiss the possibility without knowing what you would like us to do, so we can consider it.
Honestly, like, so my role as I'm the president, but really I'm the committee person. You know, I make sure we have our minutes. I make sure our meetings don't go over, and people don't, like, that we have efficient, quick meetings. So, like, a lot of this, I feel like a lot of that stuff is going to be coming kind of more, I would say we'd have a better answer for some of that in November, when we say, well, what if the difference between the RM getting involved and not getting involved is a walking track that's an additional 2 million that we currently don't have funding for. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm anticipating there could be opportunities like that, whether it's between this many seats or that many seats, whether it's between something like bench seating or some better option for seating, whether it's sponsoring a room. So like, there is that with that grants committee. They've worked out a big structure on ways, like if like, again, these big corporate structures want to get involved, there'll be ways to do that. But like, again, just at this time, because there's been no drawings, like even at our table. Again, the guys that are involved are very particular, and they don't want to put out, they don't want to have anything put out that they're not going to be doing. So they're waiting, they're going to do it completely by the book and wait till those things come back. And we won't know till those things come back what is possible to achieve, right? Like we may be hoping, oh, like let's say at this time, we're all hoping there's a walking track. But what if construction and concrete and all these things are so high that it's just impossible? Then that means we're gonna have to scale that back. But then what if we get additional partners or additional funding and then boop, no, we could put it back in there. Do you know what I mean? So I would see, for my own self, I would see that kind of coming for kind of more at the end to say, like, we've gotten us and the town, like I can't discount their contribution. Obviously, it's huge that they've allowed this partnership and that they've kind of got the balls going with that big grant. And then the way the government, you guys would understand this as well, funding, you can match. So now all of a sudden your 3, 6 could be 12, which another one we could still match another. We found out, so let's say potentially we can raise 12 to 15 million. And then what if we're just, there's that community fund where we have to make that last push for 1 to 2 million somewhere. So whether it's something like that, or however that works, whether it even is just a positive project in the community, which we're hoping it will be, of course. And then there's, again, however you guys work that out for use and whatever agreements to ideally avoid whatever happened at the pool with the tier and the pay and do you know what I mean? Like at this time, like we're really, really hoping to keep it as community collaborative and positive as possible. And again, we've spent a ton of time just working on the structure so that it's organized and transparent and clear and everybody knows their roles and responsibilities kind of thing. So I'm just anticipating as we get into it a little deeper, it could get more challenging.
Perfect. Any other questions, or are we good for tonight? Thank you so much for coming. It was great to have you, and we appreciate the information. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll return to number 6 on our agenda. We're going to 6.2, payroll checks. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. Payroll payments, voucher number 105 to 121 in the amount of $23,879.90. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk, and a seconder, please. Councillor McGregor. Any discussion on the payroll payments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 6.3, the one that no doubt everybody at the table is excited to see. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. Indemnities through June number 4497 to 4505 in the amount of $10,872.80. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and I think I saw Councillor Zbirun in there as well. Discussion on the indemnities this month. Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 6.4, bank reconciliation and financial reports. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby receives a bank reconciliation and financial statement for the period ending June 30th, 2023 as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk and Councillor Neely. There are 2 files there for you. One is the overshorts, the reconciliation that shows you the things that haven't cleared and such to make it so the bank balance is exactly what we say the ledger balance is. The second portion is a year-to-date peek at our general operating fund, so the income as well as, more importantly, the expenses. So this is current to the end of June, so we did have checks at the last meeting and this meeting that aren't on here. We'll be seeing the July statement at our next meeting in August, I suspect. But this certainly shows us where we're at so far. Obviously this is 50% of the year, so we would hope that for many things we've spent 50% or less than what it says, but in some cases that isn't always possible.
Nobody paid their taxes yet.
On the tax front, the tax bills have been created. Have the physical ones arrived?
No, they have not.
So the physical ones are expected in a couple days. They were ordered for printing last week. So the process is printing them. They'll be arriving here. We then have to add to them the information we put in. So we were putting in the information about the
Rigging.
yes.
Good.
And then we're going to put in some tax comparison information of what the mill rates are in other communities, so you can see how we're doing. You know, if you had your house someplace else, what would it cost you to have? And then typically we also put in a summarized version of the budget, as well as a list of all the indemnities paid out. So that'll get added. It'll take a couple days to add that, and the tax bills will be mailed. So hopefully that will be done. It'd be nice if it was done by our next meeting. Hopefully they'll be out already by then. But staff will be diligently working on that, I'm sure. Any other discussion on the bank reconciliation or the reports tonight? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We move to 7.1. That is my favorite part of the meeting, as you know, because we get to talk about some things. 7.1, I wonder though if perhaps there's an appetite to move that in camera. Okay, so we'll put 7.1 in camera. Let's go to 7.2. The Sarah Lake Road project. So this may also need to go in camera. We'll start here though in the open. So there are two bids attached here. Bid 1 and bid 2 is how I'll refer to them in the meeting tonight. They're from two local companies. We've worked with our consultant, Mr. Burick, on this. We determined that there simply was no way to tender the project as a whole because it's impossible to know exactly what the work is until we're partway through it, because we don't know what's under the loose material on that hill. So because we couldn't get quotes that way, we instead have quotes here based on Manitoba heavy-duty construction rates. So what you're seeing before you is a list of equipment available, the hourly charges for that equipment to operate. I spoke with Mr. Burick at length. He was unable to be here tonight. He had a commitment with a cow, from what I understand. The committee of the whole meeting in town. His recommendation was we accept bid 1 for a couple of reasons. The equipment was a little smaller, so the hourly charges were lower for it. He felt that would be more appropriate equipment for what we were doing, so we'd save a little money that way. As far as start date goes, both of these contractors are able to do it very soon. Within probably the first week or 2 of August they would do it. It'll take a few days to do. So both were good that way. You'll notice there is not a bid 3. The third contractor was unable to do it until the fall. And as a council we had discussed a little bit that it really needed to be done in the summer to avoid interrupting some things that need to happen in that area in the fall. So those are the two bids. His recommendation was to accept bid 1. If we want to discuss the differences in the bids, we would probably go in camera for that. Is there an appetite to do that tonight? Or do you want to just accept his recommendation?
I'd accept his recommendation. I know what he's talking about.
Both are local, both are,
Yeah.
There.
are standing in there.
In either case, the plan for this project is that we'll hold a meeting with them on site. They'll have the scope of work. We're then going to give them charge of the site, so they will supervise the site and do the work. We have to have an engineer present at a certain juncture in the work to inspect it, so we'll get the engineer out. We'll also buy the materials they need for straw blanket and geotechnical material and such, so we get a little better deal on them as a municipality. We'll supply that to the contractors, but they'll do the work on that. There's some question now if we might be able to get away without that straw blanket. That's a hope, but we still work on that. And also advise that the waste material, we found a location for it very close. We've agreed to that with both conservation and the landowner, so we can actually put it into an old gravel pit, which will limit the hauling substantially and reduce the cost. Not only the cost of hauling, but also the cost of equipment waiting to load the next truck, because the trucks will return that much quicker. So that's thought to save probably more than $10,000 to be able to take it there. Unfortunately, as I think you already know, there was some additional work that's been required of us in the ditching and the culverts there, which unfortunately is going to cost some money and must be done at the same time as part of the licensing we obtained to fix this hill. Water Resources wants the slope changed on the ditch a little bit, and the angle of the culvert changed, and some riprap put in. So certainly we had budgeted $150,000. We had all hoped to come in well under that. We'd hoped for $100,000, but I think with the ditch work, it wouldn't be a shock to be closer to what we had budgeted. So it's unfortunate, but we're ordered to do it. If we don't do it, the province will do it for us and simply send us a bill. So it is still cheaper to hire our own contractor and make it happen. View of the rest of council, do you want some in-camera discussion on the two bids, or would you like to just take the recommendation tonight?
I'd take the recommendation.
What's everybody else feel?
So, I guess we contracted him to look after it, so
Take
I
his
don't know.
recommendation. Take his recommendation is what you're saying,
Well, that's what I'm sort of thinking. We hired him
to do his
to
job.
spearhead this job, and if it's his recommendation, who am I to say he's not right?
Yeah, I did meet with Mr. Bobick for a while. He felt fairly strongly about it. I won't say there's a whole lot of, he had nothing bad to say about the other contractor. He simply was, the feeling of the size of the equipment and the available equipment, because you can see on the list it's very different sizes. His thought was that the bigger equipment wasn't going to,
Be efficient.
it wouldn't do it any quicker, so we just end up paying more for it to be there the same amount of time. So we could save a little money with the smaller equipment, was his thinking. Was the main difference he saw between the bids.
Well, let's go that way then, I would think. What does the rest of you think?
Okay. So there's a resolution here. We may make changes to the resolution, just what was presented so far. Whereas the previous council saw fit to conduct work on Sarah Lake Road, but was found to have no permit in place and was subsequently subject to a stop work order, 4 tickets, and in order to restore the area to its original condition. Whereas the engineering report, permits, and permission to conduct the restoration work has been obtained at great expense to the municipality. Whereas the council feels it expedient to conduct the work in the summer of 2023 prior to the deadlines imposed by the Manitoba government, and have budgeted $150,000 to comply with the orders received by the previous council. Therefore be it resolved that the time and charges contract to repair the Sarah Lake Road be awarded to Adams Contracting Limited, and that work is to begin as soon as possible under the direction of the municipality supervisor and the vendor's site supervisor, with approval when required by engineering staff and the Manitoba government. Is there someone that would like to move the resolution? Councillor Burick, a seconder, please.
I guess I spoke up and put my hand in.
Discussion on the resolution. Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? Is carried. I think I saw everybody, right? Yes. Okay, just checking. I didn't want to make an assumption there because I didn't look around quick enough.
We weren't in unison.
Okay, 7.3, community patrol vehicle. So this is an update and a question for some discussion, obviously, because that's the section of the agenda we're in. The town of Swan River has provided a $10,000 grant to the Chamber of Commerce for the community patrol vehicle. As you know, I'm assigned to the chamber here as the rep, and I'm currently sitting as the president of the chamber from that assignment. So we had discussed once as a council before, once we knew the outcome of what the town did, if we wanted to consider anything to it. The second portion of it, a discussion that's been going on at chamber, is about insurance. So the chamber is a non-profit, it's a board of trade, it's a special kind of corporation. Currently they purchase their insurance through an insurance provider. There's been some discussion of whether it would be more advantageous because they're a non-profit if Swan Valley West allowed them to buy insurance through Swan Valley West, like we allow the Thunderhill Ski Club and some other groups to do. The thought process was the liability of the patrol vehicle. Swan Valley West's insurance is far cheaper to provide liability to volunteers that are working than commercial general insurance is. So tonight it's kind of a discussion point for council. What do you think of that? Is it something we would entertain for them? And is there any interest in being involved in the community patrol vehicle project financially this time? There's no right or wrong answers.
There's no cost to us for this insurance.
Well, financially, he's asking
So
if we
two
want
parts.
to.
The insurance would have no cost.
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah,
that.
the insurance part is
Yeah.
But
sort of
the-
an in and out thing, and then be
Right.
attached to our policy.
Yeah. And then the second part is there any interest? It's been talked about some, but ultimately we need to give a final answer if there's interest or not in supporting it financially.
Well, I'm doing all the talking, somebody else talk.
I feel that we should support them in some way. How much, I don't know, but I think it'd be nice for us to show our support for
Are
them.
they saying like pay wages or are they, or?
So
Just a contribution, I
the
think.
the original ask to the town of Swan River was for $50,000 for the program. And the town cut it to $10,000 and said that's all they could afford. So what the chamber has lined up is a used vehicle. One of the dealerships took a vehicle on trade. So they're going to sell that vehicle to the chamber at cost for what they paid the person for it. It needs about $5,000 of work done to it to meet safety. But it's a fairly reliable vehicle for what it's going to be used for. So about $7,000 into the vehicle. There'll be a couple costs for putting the lights and the decals on it, so probably to $8,000 there. The insurance through MPI is gonna be around that $1,300 mark, so they're bumping up to the 10 and going to run out of money for gas. The people driving it are volunteers, there's no wages for that, but it's gonna be about gas money and such would be,
That vehicle's on the road now.
it is not.
I seen it. I seen it on Monday.
What kind of vehicle is that?
It was a little,
Security, that's probably.
it was a little kind of olive green, little car type thing.
No, this one's gray.
Or maybe it was gray, it could have been gray, it was dirty. But it had the citizen on patrol or whatever.
That's, so what Citizens on Patrol is they're using private vehicles right now, and they have a sticker that goes on
Oh,
when they use them.
okay.
So the theory is that this vehicle would be available for them to use as well, but also for chamber volunteers. So it would
Okay.
have
Okay,
Much.
that's what I seen then.
much louder decals. So it's, to be clear, it will not look like a police car. But it will look like a security vehicle. It will be clearly marked as a patrol vehicle. It will have flashing amber lights that can be used if it's going slow
Oh, okay.
patrolling.
Yeah, this was what you said, private.
Yeah.
Okay.
The proposal here is to have something that looks intimidating is probably the wrong word, but looks a little bit intimidating, so you know that somebody's driving by and paying attention. So if you're out to do bad, you say, oh, I should just go home because they're watching me. Councillor
This is
Neely.
gonna be tentatively 24 hours a day.
It's volunteer based, so certainly the more volunteers, the better. It would be lovely if there could be wages paid, but there's, when the town cut $40,000 in the budget, there just isn't room for that anymore. The original thought was that there'd be a few hours a day perhaps if someone paid, the hours that are hard to get volunteers, and then the rest would be volunteer, but with the 80% budget cut from the town, it's just not in the cards right now.
Well, what
And
they
it's
do
mainly
then,
gonna be in Swan too, sorry, Terry.
So it will be patrolling primarily in the Swan River area, but the urban area, so certainly it'll catch the Swan Valley West edges of the town, but it would not be going to Benito or Kenville. Councillor Neely, you had a question?
I forgot about that.
Sorry.
That's all right, Byron.
So what I'm hearing, the consensus is the insurance is okay?
Yes,
Until the
yeah.
chamber, that would be okay if the.
I think
Yeah, I think
want to
it'd be a good gesture on our part.
Okay. The financial, I'm not seeing consensus, so I think we'll leave it then. Is that all right with everybody? And
Well, I just want to say something.
Okay.
I'm always saying something, but this affects a lot of our residents too. Like, people don't even want to go grocery shopping and stuff. I've heard all kinds of stories. And I'm talking 11 o'clock in the morning. There's stuff going on. Girl standing on the main street just screaming away at 11 o'clock in the morning down in front of Riddles there and waving her arms around. And I'm driving down the street and I heard her. So if some lady's going to the store, like, they're gonna be sort of shaken up if something like that happened to them. I wouldn't be opposed to giving a couple $1,000s to the vehicle. That's my opinion, the rest you can say what you like, I don't know.
No, I support that too.
Yeah, well, whatever, did you say a figure, right?
Well, I didn't have a figure.
Well, I don't know,
just
is that
said we should
reasonable?
support in some way.
Well, that would help fuel the vehicle. I
Feel it for a
would,
few months.
I would be in agreement
'Cause
with
like
a
you
couple
say-
$1,000s as well.
For
I'm
the
not in
vehicle.
agreement with $10,000.
For the vehicle.
But to help fuel the vehicle.
Well, something, so that we
Something,
appreciate
because you're
what they're
right,
doing
it does
in some
affect
way.
our residents, and I know they don't want to go to town.
Yeah.
And we want people to come to town.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I agree with that.
See how effective it is.
And
Ends
see,
up. Yeah,
If you went at $2,500, you'd be around $200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
which is 2 tanks of fuel.
yeah. Well,
well,
at least they
it's,
put the
that's,
fuel in
it's
for
not,
a
it's
year.
not
No,
all,
that's
but it's something.
Maybe.
it's like $2,500. So
Yeah, 20, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to show that, yeah, we agree with what they're doing here and
yeah, let's do that.
we think it's a good idea, It's not just Swan River, it's all the people in the valley
Yeah,
out
right.
here, at some point in time for something or other.
Is there any support
Just
from
going
other,
to the hospital to visit somebody, there could be, somebody outside there causing a disturbance. I mean, you're going to see somebody that's sick and you're already upset and then that happens.
is there
I know what
limits?
I would do, I'd end up across the street in the jailhouse.
Is there a little
You
bit of
know.
support from other municipalities or nothing?
It's been talked about a little bit. Nobody else is committed yet. But I think the ask will be made to the other two as well.
And maybe by what we're doing here at the other
Which would
municipalities, see that and maybe they'll think the same
Yeah.
way. Maybe.
So I have a proposed resolution, see if this fits. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West will provide $2,500 towards the community patrol vehicle project, and be it further resolved that the Council will allow the Chamber to purchase insurance under the terms of our insurance policy. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, someone to second the resolution. Councillor Blosha. And so I clearly put the word purchase in there. I think that removes any confusion. We're not providing them free insurance. If they want it, they buy it. That works for everybody? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 7.4, this was discussed at a transportation meeting recently. It's coming here to look at for a possible resolution tonight. So the discussion that was ongoing at transportation was that there had been some additional thefts in Benito. And there was some video of that, but we were questioning whether we should be installing video cameras on the Benito office so that we would have some video of what's going on in Benito. Primarily should our office be broken into, but also we're in a good position to see what vehicles come and go on Main Street. So if there's other crimes that happen in Benito, we would be able to provide some video of what vehicles had been there overnight in hopes of slowing that down. What's developed since then, we've had some discussions. So I think we all know the town received $50,000 from the provincial government for cameras. They've applied another $40,000 themselves, so they're supplying $90,000 for a camera system. Part of that is central monitoring of the cameras. So they're going to be, not necessarily all the time, it's that same volunteer basis, but someone watching the cameras to see what's happening. The system is set up so that cameras can be connected to it from anywhere in the valley, actually anywhere in the world, but for our purposes, the valley. So it would be possible to connect those Benito cameras to it, so they could see if something was happening in Benito, might take a peek, something like that. We also discussed whether we should have cameras in other locations, so you'll see there's options for how many we do or don't. The Chamber is working with the town of Swan River to provide those camera services. The reason for that is the town has a very strict purchasing policy that's not particularly compatible with the one vendor model of there being one vendor that can provide the cameras, which is Hikvision, because they provide the monitoring platform and the cameras, and for the town to go to tender on it would probably be a pool type disaster. So the thought was they are going to contract the Chamber for the $90,000. The Chamber has been in touch with Hikvision and explained that again, the money wasn't there for the full project. Hikvision's agreed to offer a discount on the equipment for monitoring and everything. So what is proposed is that if Swan Valley West is going to do cameras, we purchase them through that Chamber of Commerce group purchase because they'll be cheaper. They'll have that discount on them and they'll be the cameras that connect to the system. So what we need to talk about here is, do we want to put cameras in Benito? Number one, do we want to put them other places? Certainly we have some facilities that would be worth having video monitoring at. I don't want to disclose in the open meeting the state of our current video monitoring, but certainly these are newer cameras that would do a better job than maybe what we have now. Is there interest to know what we're doing now? If somebody nods yes, we'll take it in camera and finish the discussion there. Okay, so we'll go in camera with this and discuss a little further what we have now, and then we'll look to whether or not we pass the resolution when we come out of camera after that session. But that's what we'll talk about there. 7.5 is alarm systems for Swan Valley West. This will need to go in camera as well because it'll be part of that other discussion. What we're going to be talking about though is possibly upgrading our security systems in a couple of locations to give us better protection because certainly we see the amount of crime going on and we would like to not be the victim of that, or at least stop it as soon as possible. So there's some budgetary pricing here, but we'll talk about exactly what we have now in camera so you guys are aware of where we're at, and then we'll be better prepared to make those decisions. 7.6, thankfully, we can do in the open. As you know, we have our interim CIO as a signing officer, but we don't have any other staff positions currently as a signing officer. So the proposal here is for our finance officer to become a signing officer as well, which is standard procedure. So I have a resolution. Be it resolved, the Municipality of Swan Valley West updated signing officers to include the Reeve, Deputy Reeve, Interim CIO Pat Ellingson, and Finance Officer Lisa Boyko, and be it further resolved that each financial instrument be signed by either one of the elected officers and either one of the staff officers, and be it further resolved that Lisa Boyko be added to the list of users authorized for online banking with the Swan Valley Credit Union. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, someone to second the resolution. Councillor Blosha. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 7.7, water billing for private wells. I don't know how familiar everybody is with this utility system, but let me give you a crash course. There are a couple locations in Benito that prior to there being water had a well. And because of the utility system and the mandatory requirement to connect to the utility, those people had to have our town water for their houses, but they kept the well. And they could use the well for watering flowers or doing whatever. But there was a fear that they might use that water in their house. So as a result, there's a meter installed on each of those wells. And the meter is there if water is used to charge them sewer fees on it. Because the water would be free, but they would pay to put it in our sewer, even if they put it on their garden. In both cases, the wells are not actually being used. But because they have a meter, we're charging every month the minimum meter fee, which seems less than fair. So there's a resolution prepared tonight that essentially says that if you haven't used it in 12 months or more, we will not bill you until such time as you begin using it again. And the thought here, there's two of them. The thought is that they probably will never use them again, but if they do, we'll start billing them again. So resolution, whereas there are a small number of private wells that are no longer connected to the Benito utility wastewater system and are not currently in use but incur charges during each billing cycle of the utility, be resolved that any private well that is not used for a period of 12 months or more will not incur billing until such time as it returns to use. Is there a mover?
Come on, Benito, get at her.
Councillor Kushniryk and seconded by Councillor McGregor. Any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? Thank you. 7.8, we're required on a yearly basis to review our code of conduct bylaw. So review has been done, there have been some changes to made. This is here for first reading. So the idea is we'll give it first reading, it needs 2 more readings. We'd read it the first time tonight, everybody would take it home and study it for a while. Come back with changes if you wish to recommend any, we can discuss them at our next meeting.
To just highlight the changes so far.
So the changes so far relate to a couple things. So when a complaint is made,
Okay.
it adds a section that requires the 2 people that complain be told what the average cost has been of complaints if they don't just get along, which I thought was useful. So essentially it says that they'll be given a letter, we've got your complaint, do you know what this is going to cost? How about you just work it out? And then if that doesn't work, it provides that by default, council investigate the complaints unless one of them says they don't want council to do it. Right now, by default, it goes to an outside agency we pay. So if somebody wanted the outside agency, that would be fine, but if they didn't care, it would instead be council that does it to save some money. And it provides that if there's punishments, they have to be spelled out the start date and the end date if you're suspending someone, so there's no questions anymore about when it starts and when it ends, and that it isn't in the middle of a meeting. So you don't have a situation where somebody sitting at the table has to walk away. It begins at the next regular meeting. That has to be noted in there. There was no changes to any of the stuff that makes, like the bad acts, all of that was left alone. It was just in that process of how things go on from that. None of the possible punishments were removed either. So they're all still available there. And council could choose to remove them if you wanted to, but the thought was just to clarify them a little bit, and that's most of what it is. And then it repeals the previous bylaw to be the new one. So I'll do the resolution for first reading, but this has to go twice more, obviously, so please do read it, and if you have suggestions or comments, get in touch with me and we'll get them on the agenda. And if it looks like something everybody agrees to, we'll just change it, and otherwise we'll vote on it or do whatever we have to do to settle it. So be it resolved, the Code of Conduct bylaw be read a first time by the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor McGregor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 7.9. So we have a ratepayer that is having some water issues. I've been there to look at it. I think Councillor Neely's been there to look at it as well. Could be others have as well. They have some views about where they think the water should go. We're not necessarily all in total agreement on that, and so the recommendation is that we have watershed do a survey. They will determine the elevations of the ditches and the natural flows, and be able to tell us where we should dig a hole to end those water issues. So tonight we're bringing it forward just to approve the cost of that survey. It'll be a couple $100. Be it resolved that we approve the survey of water flow on the west side of Road 172 at Northeast 2936, 29 West 1 by the Swan Lake Watershed District, and the cost of the survey will be paid by Swan Valley West. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, a seconder by Councillor Blosha. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 710, Bonito Fire Hall replacement. Councillor Kushniryk asks for us to speak about this tonight. I think he has some materials to share with us, so let him have the floor.
Oh, jeez, you would. So basically, we're aware that there's some issues with the Bonito Fire Hall. I'm just hoping that we can make a little bit of a push to get some stuff in motion towards a replacement. I've been asked by some of them when we're thinking of doing it, and I don't really have an answer. Somewhere over here,
Buried on him.
it was just kind of on the spur of stumbling across it. Well, you can pass that around. Riverton has a new fire hall that they've built. Their borrowing bylaw allowed for $1 million to do a hall like this. We don't need something quite as big or substantial. But I'm wondering if we can feel of when we would be thinking that we might get looking into this a little bit deeper, what kind of money we're thinking, what kind of plans we have in the works, because otherwise it's going to land on us in a hurry out of, you know, absolute necessity.
Well, I already cut a hole in the east wall, get the new fire truck in a couple of years ago.
Yep.
I don't know if the newer members of council have seen the photos from that. When they cut the wall, there wasn't really cutting required. It was more just grab the 2x4s and they pulled out.
I didn't see any video, I just,
The clearances are actually so tight, if there's snow buildup, they can't get the truck out
too
if
high.
there's a call. Yeah.
And they can't get to the north wall if the truck's parked in there. You gotta crawl under the truck to get,
Yep.
unless the door's open. You might be able to sneak in by the passenger side.
We also received a mandatory order from Workplace Health and Safety for that building earlier this term to do with mold infestation. So we've remediated what we could for now, and that's been enough to clear the order. But I don't think there's any question about if we were able to get all the mold. We did not. We simply got this, enough of it that we can still occupy the building.
I guess my fear would be if all of a sudden it gets to the point where, hey, you can't use this anymore, then what do we do? Make a bigger door in the end of the rink and park stuff in there, or what, you know, I don't know.
And we sure gotta start looking for some grants. And that's what we're gonna have to our office look for that.
Well, they got a grant for the truck, so maybe we could get a grant for
We
the
sure
fire.
did.
Or a big portion of it.
There's definitely potential for grants. When you look at the numbers that are written on the bottom there, they won't make any sense to you. But Riverton is currently 475 people. We're sitting at about 360 in Bonito. They had a borrowing bylaw for $1 million to build it. We don't want to go that big. Their entire municipality is 3,300 and some people, I believe, were around 2,700. I didn't look that up. They have done what we are in the process of doing. Their town of Riverton doesn't pay any expenses. It's all done at large. They currently only pay $36,000 for garbage collection. Everything else is, so they've done the $1 million for that hall because it benefits their entire region.
Well, this is called the Bonito Fire Department, but it's, looks after half our municipality,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, with this new fire agreement and stuff with the town, they're gonna look after the north half, right? So, how are we gonna do that with the taxes for people? We're just gonna put it all in one pot and split it up, or what are we thinking here?
Technically, yes. My, where my head has been going is when we see what we're generating on, we can almost bring it down to mill rate, right? We can know what it's costing us to pay for what we do in the north. And that would be easy enough to apply to the other half of the municipality and say for example, it's 0.5 mils that it's costing us to have fire protection in the north. What would 0.5 mils generate in the south? Maybe that's the budget we have for what we're going to do. And we look at, do we pay this off over a few years? How do we make it work? And we try to make it somewhat fair that way, right?
See, it's kind of equal either way, because right now what we're doing for the north half is paid for by all. So what we would do in the south half would be paid for by all.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we,
It's really just a,
it likely wouldn't.
It's gonna be very close.
A big difference if you figured it out penny for penny, and in the end of a year, it likely wouldn't be a major difference anyway.
The difference in the north half is there's a full-time fire chief. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of wages there that
Yeah,
aren't
yeah,
in the
that's
south
right,
half. And this, where my head was going was that those wages would be very close to the payments on a fire hall. You know, like,
Yeah.
for, the video costs a lot less to operate because there's no full-time chief. So what we save by doing that would practically make those debenture payments. So fire protection was costing us about the same everywhere.
But you know, people are also paying for this fire chief, right?
Yes.
So I mean,
But the north people.
but the
would be
north would
paying
pay for that hall.
yeah,
That's where you just
yeah, I
become
see
one.
what you mean, if it,
Yeah,
yeah, even it up so it works out fair.
So roughly speaking,
Run the
everybody
debenture long
pays-
enough that it works out to so much a year, right?
Yeah. We have the option, gas tax is eligible for fire halls now, so it can be done if we want to, we don't have to by any means, it's just an option we have. So we'll have by next year, $300,000 or $400,000 of gas tax built up, because we don't have anything we're using it for this year. So there'll be some money there, but so I think Councillor Blosha is very on point, we need to have a plan in mind, so as soon as we find a grant opportunity, we're applying for it. And see if we can't get some money from some other folks for this, to pay for at least half of it.
I don't know, have you ever been there, Brian?
No, I've never been, no,
Should go up to Bonita for coffee and have a look at it
yeah, I've
someday.
never been in a,
Everybody else likely
Everybody
knows
should,
what it looks like.
everybody should
Yeah.
You
go.
know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I
You lived
agree.
in there for
Numerous
25
times.
years, you know what it looks like.
But everybody needs to go, yeah, definitely.
So
Well,
anyone that hasn't been in there recently, talk to our fire chief there, he would gladly get you in the building. If he's during the day and he's not around, he'll have somebody else let you in.
We likely got one of the nicest fire trucks around and sticking out the east side of the building.
Mhm.
A lot of it's closed in, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
like
I would sure like to see the grasslands truck go there as well. So just put on an extra little door there.
yeah, well, mind you now, it's sort of in the middle of the
I know,
municipality.
I guess it's in the middle, but they take good care.
I don't
they take-
think-
They take care of their stuff in Benito. So
Yeah,
That's
I see
what I
what you
mean.
mean, yeah.
it would have the
I'm
proper
hoping
service.
it would be taken care of, well taken care of here too.
Yeah, I know.
Just a
I'm a little, yeah. I've seen they take care of their stuff.
So what kind of building, like a 3D, like,
I'm sorry, Art, yeah.
There's been a couple discussions. Councillor Kushniryk had talked about building basically just the garage part of it beside the old town office. Because then we're not rebuilding a new office or any facilities like that. Essentially build the building, connect them with a hallway, and here's your training meeting space with washrooms, and there's your fire hall. You just, potentially save $100,000 or more by doing that. I've spoken to some firefighters who like that idea. I've spoken to some that think there are too many stop signs between that location and the highway. But with big shiny red fire trucks, surely stop signs are just a
it's not like,
entertainment.
yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
Benito's bustling at
I'd sure like
rush
to,
time, yeah.
I'd sure like to save that office.
I know.
and like,
is that office, I've been in that
The
office
front part.
quite a few
well,
times, is it,
yeah,
is it
the front part of
structured
it.
good?
It's going to need some
Would there
shingles.
be room there for a new building?
I think
There's
so.
a lot of space there.
There's a lot of space there. They go,
'Cause
and
like,
even the back part, there's storage there. That
Yeah, you would probably want to demo the back bay from the old
Yeah,
existing
maybe.
fire hall, and then you could add even 2 bays that way, and you can go around the other side, put the main bays facing Main Street. You could have a mezzanine over top, you've got your, there's lots of
Main
space.
Street or Railway Avenue?
Main Street.
Main Street.
So where are you thinking of putting it?
Main Street,
Town office, you know where Benito Town
right,
office is.
the town
eh?
office. Right
Oh, on my
beside-
lot?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
Ah, right there.
yeah, you should know it well.
But I think it
If
would,
they find any hundreds when they're digging there,
Found them already.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it's a good idea to use that building, eh? There's no- But I mean, sometimes when you're building a fire hall, like say 4 walls, so you're just gonna partition the inside as office, and so I mean, it's not an additional building you're putting onto it, so I mean, you have to look at that too.
Definitely.
The age of the,
That's the thing, we need to get going on figuring out what's
Yeah.
better. The perk maybe is of, you would have somebody in the building if you had it open every now and then. You'd have one hydro bill, one, you know.
You know what I mean, though, Brad? Like, you'd have inside the building, just partition your office or washroom.
Yeah.
It's not that you're building an additional building to it, so you have to find out what this present building, the structure of it is, and if it'll last for another.
What's a steel frame?
100 years, it is, okay.
Yeah.
And it's concrete too, isn't it, the wall? Isn't the walls?
Cinder blocks on
Cinder
one
block,
side.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the downfall of that side. But
So it will need shingles in the next year or so. We will have to do something about that roof on that building, or else decide we're not having that building anymore.
Yeah, it's just something to look
Around
at.
the old town office there.
Yeah.
The town office?
Yes, there's some shingles, they're not in great shape. So we're gonna have to do something about that roof. Unless we're walking away from the building completely, we're gonna have to fix the roof next year.
So there's something to look at, though, like.
The back wall of it, where the cinder block is because that's a fake wall. And so
Okay.
the building is a full size, and that's just a partitioning wall. So it would be somewhat difficult to cut that back off, because you'd be cutting off the structural elements of the building. So, at one time, we thought that was added on to the building separate, but it was all the same time, it's just divided in the middle.
Just one comment, the longer we wait to do this, the more it'll cost.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not that it's not needed, it is a sad looking thing, the current one.
How old is that current building, the fire hall?
I don't even know.
It was a garage before it was a fire hall.
Yeah.
And so it's quite
Likely
ancient.
about 80 years old, at least 90.
I don't even doubt if you were to go to the backside and look at the extension we put on there that we're crossing property lines.
It's not pretty, folks.
So we'll leave it there tonight, but I think we'll encourage Councillor Kushniryk to speak a little more with the fire department. And I know at one point they had suggested some of their members might be able to do some sample drawings and some sample estimates.
I was gonna say in camera, maybe I'll mention a few names, because there are some
Yeah.
on that fire department that are very good at that.
Yeah,
Like
and I
the
think
contractors.
Well, it used to be.
Help out. Okay, so we'll pick up that little bit in camera just to that. 7-11, the parade. So last time we talked about this, I thought we were fairly set on the idea that Deputy Reeve Burick was appearing with me at the parade. But he informs me that he's no longer doing that. So we're back here to discuss the parade one more time. The candy is in the corner if anyone wants to sample.
Oh,
the
we
parade,
can
you
try that,
can.
we can try that out.
RJ and I'll check.
So we have the candy. Is anybody interested? I'll go with myself. I don't mind going myself, but my concern is that we try very hard to be a team here. And I want to make sure everybody has ample opportunity. Like, there's no reason why we couldn't take all of council or some of council or me and staffers. It doesn't have to be just me in the parade. Is there any interest in anybody else being there as well? My thought was if there was two of us, rather than riding in the back, we'd each walk one side and hand out candy as we walked, because to me it seems kind of silly to sit in the truck and wave at people. I'm not the queen.
Oh, the Queen Gate.
No, I'd far rather us be talking to people and have.
What happened, Brian? Can't find your cowboy hat or what?
I can't walk.
Lisa, I think
You're
Lisa would like to maybe attempt that, maybe, I don't know.
Does anybody have interest on council? Hearing nothing, I think if it's all right by council, I'm going to see if our green team staff has any interest.
Good idea.
Maybe bring some of them in. We're going to use the Swan Valley West truck, the new one.
Yeah, that's
I
nice.
believe Jody is going to drive it, so we'll have the logo truck instead of just a borrowed truck from somewhere. And I'll see if green team or any of the other staff have interest in coming in for
I
that.
think that pass out candy.
Yeah, that's a
exactly.
great
Get something.
That's a good
See what we
idea.
can do. Okay.
So I'll be standing on the side there somewhere with my granddaughter.
And you'll be getting no candy.
So I think we'll be holding a bag for her.
I'll wave as they go by, but those that don't appear in the parade do not necessarily get candy. 7-12, trailer for public works. This was discussed, correct me, I think it was transportation meeting, we talked about the trailer. So we asked that public works provide some quotes, and we have a litany of quotes here tonight. So this is roughly a 7x12 trailer is what they're looking at. There's a few different options. So we have Assiniboine Trailer Sales has given a quote. They are from Priestville, Saskatchewan. We have a quote from Solid Ground that is located within our municipality in Benito. We also have 3 quotes from Fireman, and they're attached there with just a picture of it and then a price as well. I did not receive a recommendation from staff on which one they were hoping for, which leaves it fairly open for council to think about what they would like to do. The one from Benito is a little bit more money than the one from Priestville, but it is local. And certainly there's an option there that aren't on the other ones. There's an extra option to extend the tailgate to ensure that the lawnmower deck doesn't get commingled with the trailer in a way that's not appreciated by the lawnmower. What is everyone's thoughts on this? Would you like to buy a trailer, and if so, which one?
Now let's go to the top. $7,400 aluminum. I can't believe these trailers are worth that kind of money.
The number one there, the third one down, that's a good trailer, because that's a tilt deck and that's heavy duty.
Which one's that? They carry that?
This one right here, it's
Red.
also a
Red
little
one.
bigger, I believe.
I was gonna ask you, is that a used one?
It is
Yes,
used.
it's used, but
Looks like
look how
it's used.
heavy it is,
Yeah.
and it's a tilt deck. I know those are good
It is
trailers.
2 feet longer, I think. than
I know, it's 2
some of
feet longer, I know those are good trailers. Look at the deck, if you look just at the picture of the deck on it alone, it's in good shape,
82-inch width.
yeah.
That'll be between
The last one there, it's a little more money, it is more money,
The
but
last
it'll
one
never
is-
rust, and you'll never replace the floor or anything.
yeah, but they're not as strong.
They-
But they're not
strong,
strong, they're gonna
okay.
be crunching when they
Okay, yeah,
load
well,
something onto there, that's something you have to think
Yeah.
about too.
yeah.
Ah, the top one is that, see that, the one that I'm saying is 2 feet longer.
That's a 14-foot.
14 instead of 12, so you can have 2 lawnmowers instead of 1. I don't know, I just look, that one looks good. The top one also looks good. You could take, like Brad says, you could take the spare tire off and it's quite a difference in price.
Squirrel Creek is 14 foot,
It's 14 foot as well,
but it doesn't have a tilt deck.
not a tilt
No.
deck.
But it does have looks like a slight slope on the beaver tail there with the ramps. It'd be pretty easy approach. You always get the deck hung up. on the lawnmower.
I've had, like, I've got one with that style of ramp on it, and they're nice, but the mesh, you gotta re-weld, you break it apart. It doesn't handle the weight as well.
How does that?
Yeah, that
tilt-
thing's got enough bars in it, you'll never hurt that.
How does that tilt deck work, Brad, like?
You drive on and then it goes
I know,
in.
I know, but what happens, you have 2 mowers, you put 1 mower on, will it go down when the first mower's on?
Yeah,
Okay, when how's the second mower on then?
you might have trouble loading too.
Because with a ramp type, a tailgate, well, it'll always stay level, your bedding.
If you had a hitch, you could pull one up behind you. I mean, you'd have to have them right together so that thing would come down softly every time.
Like the tilt one, if there's only 1 mower, it'll work excellent, but with 2, the second one would,
Be hard to get on.
well, no, I don't know, how- I don't have one myself, but I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds good, but,
No, they are nice, but, yeah, you're right, you're gonna have trouble loading two of them. 'Cause as soon as you get it far enough ahead to make room for the second one, it's gonna go down.
But you only drive 3/4 of the way on, and then you drive the other one half, and that's how you do
what
it.
if you only have 1?
I
You
see.
need 2 drivers
I-
then, right?
Whatever.
Well, but you're when you're loading, you always have 2
What if you only have 1 driver? 1 driver.
Then you only need one more.
Yeah, then why would
Yeah,
you have 2
one-
mowers?
One driver, and then you got a guy waiting at
How much was
I'm
that,
pretty
Brad?
sure it's not that
How much
hard.
was that,
Brian.
Brad?
I'm starting to understand why staff didn't make a recommendation.
But it is, I'm just saying, that's heavy duty. If you want something to last, that's probably, but like the other one, was that number 2,
Wasn't it?
that one is also a very good trailer. So, like, very good. Well, obviously by the
Is that
price,
the
you can
squirrel
see
one?
that it's very
Number
good.
2, is that the squirrel one?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
It's 14 foot.
But that one does not tilt, does it?
No, it's got the. it's
You got the tailgate on it, right?
Expanded metal on the tailgate. That expanded metal, they got enough supports in there, Brad.
They got enough supports. It's the wire mesh that tends to, it's creaking and busts all the welds, so the mesh comes off.
I don't have that problem with mine.
I haven't seen
I
that
got
problem.
ramps like that. and
I haven't seen
tailgates
that
like
problem
that.
on the one that I have either, but
We got a welder on
It's up to you.
staff now anyways or something. Fix it.
So somebody wish to propose a choice.
Like that tilt one is nice too, like Carrie says, but it also doesn't have railings around it, or unless there is railings you can put on it.
We got a welder on staff.
I would recommend Squirrel Creek 14 foot, but better check with Scott. Should we?
Well, he's the one who found these, I
These are all.
believe.
Did he have a
Byron.
preference, or?
He did not have a preference. From what I understood, all of these would work. Was his thought.
They got this in Swan here, this one? Well, I guess they got it, they can have it here in a day anyway. Let's see, what's,
See, I've got one like that middle one, eh? I've got one myself, and then you gotta start, I haven't yet, but you gotta start replacing boards.
12 foot.
Gotta start replacing boards.
It's a
You must be
12.
pretty
That's
rough
the
on
only
it.
No,
option.
whether
That's our only option. Other two are 12 footers, a tilt deck and a.
Look at how
little
good
one.
that deck looks.
I know.
In my opinion, no.
It's heavy duty.
I am sort of opinionated, but anyway, I would go with Squirrel Boy 14 footer.
So that's Flamin quote two,
Two.
right? Yes.
I agree
Squirrel
with
Creek,
that.
is that the one we're talking about?
Yeah.
I'd say
If you
so.
don't like number one, I do agree with number two.
No, you had a
but-
good idea, Carrie.
If you don't like number one,
It was a good idea. but
because
with
I
two more,
honestly,
that's gonna
I
be
think
a
I
son
can
of a
teach
gun.
you how to get on the tilt deck properly.
I'd like, if you had a hitch on to hook the other one onto, you'd just drive them all up
It's
together,
nice.
you'd be fine.
About as hard as you think. I've had to drive
One
on
thing I
there
like
with
about
Joe
the tilt
before.
deck, I mean, the tilt deck is nice in itself, but I like not having the permanent rail. So you go to load something that rail just happens to land in where you need something to overhang this much, you're no good. It's, we
No,
could.
that's
we-
why this
we could
one-
have
I
state
don't think
pockets
you're
That's why
supposed to
this-
have overhangs, are you?
This
within the
one-
wheel wells.
That's why this one you don't have.
See, on
to
mine-
That's what I like
On
about
mine,
that.
Brad, the railings come out, eh? I can take my railings out.
I don't think they do on these. This will be like mine and it's
That's welded
permanently
permanently?
welded.
As long as 14 feet is enough room to fit two more,
It is.
it'll work.
And I think that one out of a rental fleet would be built heavy. They're not gonna put a weak one on their rentals, right? They're gonna put
The red
something-
one,
Yeah.
yeah. That's only as good as its axles.
Well, it's here for someone to look at, obviously, because it's located here. So someone could go look at it to make sure that's what it looks
Well, if it doesn't work, you can always trade it in.
Take two lawnmowers over, see if you can load
If it
it.
doesn't work, you can always trade it
You
in.
want a green team trying that? I don't think so.
Can we approve either or and send Scott to look if if the rental looks really solid? If not, go with the other one.
Council can do whatever our little hearts desire. So
Well,
if you want just to
let me
approve
make a
purchase of a trailer,
suggestion. Let's have our Reeve in charge of this. He has, he has our blessing on either Flamin 2 or Flamin 1. Whichever our lead hand decides it would work the best. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because right now we don't know. This might have two bald tires. I doubt it,
Exactly.
but you don't.
But I
know.
mean, it's heavy duty. You're not gonna.
Well, they run a long time, them ball tires.
Better mileage, no resistance.
When there's only ball on one side, you got a problem.
Yeah.
be resolved that council approve the purchase of a trailer from Flamin Sales as per quote 1 or 2 at the advice of the lead hand and the Reeve. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha, seconder, Councillor McGregor, I see your hand. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. Is in favor? Councillor Kushniryk, are you in favor or
Way
opposed?
too much.
In favor.
Thank you. 713, one-way plow refurbishment. So I guess it did get attached. So we have some details on one-way plows. Our current ones are 2012 models. They're feeling their age a little bit. So we have options. We could buy new plows, or we could refurbish old plows. Budget of about $10,000 per plow for refurbishing, replaces the pins and bushings. It goes to factory for this. If there's something else substantially wrong with it, there would be additional charges for repair. They probably can get it done within 3 months, so we need to do it very soon if we're doing it. For new plows, $40,000 buys a new plow. If we did 2 plows at the same time, the second one, they would discount to $36,000. They'd be willing to invoice it this year or next year. If we wanted to budget into next year for some reason, we could do that. Certainly there's a lot more cost to new plows. We probably also need one quick attach connector for the one that has one, and they're obviously a few $1,000s too. So what are you interested in? Do you want to refurbish? Public Works would like to see 2 refurbished if we're doing refurbishing this year.
We shouldn't need on the other 2. No?
The 2 really bad ones I'd like to set.
No, but the other ones are pretty new. The other,
One we just, oh no, we just got the grader, we didn't, oh no, we got the one way in that 772, didn't we?
So they don't like it.
well, it doesn't matter what you like,
I know.
it's what you learn how to drive.
So the suggestion that keeps coming back, it came from Mr. Bobick and it's come from others now, is that we look at selling that Brant one-way plow to someone at some point, because it doesn't adjust in the same way as these other ones do. It only provides for up and down. It won't provide for tilting or back and forth, and they're having trouble with it. Certainly, it would be fair to say that they thought it was going to work when it was ordered. That was why it was ordered, or we never would have bought it. So there's a concern there. We have 4 one-way plows that are not it, 4 capital I plows, and we have 4 quick connects for them. So one option is to buy the 5th quick connect, put it on the 5th grader, and share the 4 plows, because we only plow 4 graders at a time anyway, so if one breaks down, we just steal its plow and carry on. We could buy a 5th plow. We need to do something about the plows getting old. So we need to either refurbish something or we need to buy something to replace one. So we need to do something about the age of the fleet, because they're quite concerned about if they make it through winters at this point.
And
because they're
how
so
long
loose.
will a refurbish last?
The pins and bushings and stuff will make it like new, as brand new parts go into it. So we should get, like these ones, some of them are 10 years old now. I don't know if they've ever been done. I don't think they've ever gone back for refurbishing.
I don't think you can do anything else to them. I mean, you can't hurt them any other way.
It's just a solid chunk of iron.
I know.
think it's-
I mean,
This is, the refurbishment, from what I understand, is all the parts that do wear out get replaced. And you're left with all the parts that don't wear out.
So basically, we'd get two plows for the price of one.
we could get
I
three.
think.
2
Three.
plows for the price of half,
Yeah.
4 plows for the
Well,
price
I mean,
of one.
if we get away with $10,000, right?
I think we're
Yeah.
supposed to send them away for refurb,
Yeah,
and they
But-
contact us if something is,
but
they wouldn't do it.
send 2 at a time.
And probably isn't
Not-
the time
not-
for 2 this year. So
2
we'll send
this
2
year,
and
2 next
Yeah.
year.
I guess what do we have in our budget? Can we buy another quick attach for the other grader or what?
We probably could. They don't have here in their quote, they didn't provide the exact amount. I think it was around $4,000 for one. It wasn't that much, but
4,000?
don't, it's not here. I thought when I spoke to him on the phone, that was what he was hinting at, but he didn't write it down. So I don't want to, I don't want to make any promises on what it costs for a quick attach.
I think if they can refurbish it, make them like new, that's what we should do. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think
Well, I
so.
could say 2,
For now,
2
yeah.
and
Yeah,
then 2.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause we could get 3 of them done likely for sure, even with a little extras for the price of one new one. You know? Yeah, let's get them fixed.
And and get the attach for the other one,
Yeah.
so that
Yes,
if
so
something
that we're
happens,
totally interchangeable.
Yeah,
totally interchangeable, yeah.
Hook up and get at her.
Be resolved that council approve the plan to refurbish 2 one-way plows prior to the 2023-2024 winter season and purchase a quick attach kit for the 5th grader. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. I know it saddens you, but that's the end of section 7. We have no correspondence tonight. We'll move to section 10, committee reports. Let's start this evening with Councillor Kushniryk.
it's hot in here.
Yeah, you're awful red.
Yeah, I really don't have anything else. I don't much of anything.
Summertime pretty.
Quieter.
Councillor Blosha.
I attended the transportation meeting, so it was a good first transportation meeting,
We had cake.
yeah.
and I didn't
Yeah.
steal the cake. And that's honestly the only meeting that I've attended this month, since our last meeting.
Summer's a little slower for meetings,
That's
thankfully.
okay.
Councillor Burick.
All I had was transportation meeting as well, July 13th. It's the only thing I attended.
Same here.
Councillor Neely.
Same here, and I think it was a good deal.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, we had a good meeting.
Yeah, good. I'm
Are
going
we-
home one day and Nathan's putting that sign up there.
Should we be, like, Thursday this week would typically be our next one, but that hasn't been scheduled?
Well,
We'll see
yes.
what's away.
Should have
This
one,
Thursday?
should have one.
I'm thinking maybe that you should do it the following week, because this is a pretty busy week for everybody.
Yeah.
Like this
You're
is,
gonna be
this is a
free
busy
in the
week.
morning.
Bill's
Yeah.
gonna be,
Let's-
Bill's gonna be trying on cowboy hats, get
It's
one
gonna
that
be
fits.
Thursday morning though.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah, parade.
But I
Why
would
don't
say-
we
Parade's Friday.
Oh,
I
parade's
would-
Friday.
Thursday morning is
Oh.
10 o'clock. Nobody can make it at 10 or that's no good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
'Cause
Why
it
don't
would
we
be-
push it back 1 week? Would that be
Well, it's a
okay?
week, that's long, a week.
You're gonna come, you're gonna tell everybody what you need to get done.
Yes,
and
yes,
nothing will get
I
done,
can
and
tell them
then-
right now. I can tell them right now.
Brian, just make a list up and give it to Scott.
I can't do that.
I
I
gave
have to
him
give-
crap for.
Yeah, the Reeve just told me it's going to go to the CO, but the CO's not here, just the finance officer, unless the finance
I
officer
gave
is.
Scott my list the other day.
Yeah, well, she's not here, she's not, she's gone for holidays.
Lisa's wondering if she liked that end of the table more than this end now.
We want to break her in gently, like, just gently, so,
We will have a moment of discussion in camera
yeah,
about what we'll do with giving Scott lists.
yeah,
Just so we can settle in on that a little more.
yeah.
Anything else,
No,
Councillor?
that was everything, yeah.
So I think what I heard was next Thursday, is that the general agreement for transportation?
Well, not
Is
with Mr. Burick, I think. he
Well,
was-
Brian's,
How about-
Mr. Burick's gonna have his own meeting
Mr.
this
Green, I
Thursday.
can
Can we
come,
split the difference on Tuesday?
Can we declare this Thursday Valentine's for Swan Valley West? It will rule it out.
no, thanks. We
Tuesday
can
would
say
be
this, the first, August first?
First of August, would that work?
Yeah, okay.
Does everybody else
10
agree
o'clock.
on that? 10
August
o'clock?
first at 10
So
o'clock,
if you
yeah.
could please make a note for transportation, August 1st, 10
August
a.m.
first, 10 o'clock.
And we'll send out notice and invite our lead hand. Councillor McGregor.
Nothing to report.
I have a list. So Chamber of Commerce update, there have unfortunately been some resignations to the Chamber of Commerce Committee as of late, and the Chamber is required to have a minimum of 11 committee members. So we need to find some additional people. The Chamber is currently voting on adding 2 more people. It looks like that's likely going to pass, they're doing an email vote, but we're still short a few people. So if anyone is knowing someone that's interested, they don't have to be a business owner, but they have to be as interested in the prosperity of the valley, which covers pretty much anybody. They do have to hold a chamber membership, which is basically $100 a year for an individual. So if you know somebody that would be interested in a job like that of making the community better, please encourage them along to show some interest to the chamber so we can get those numbers up to where they need to be. I mentioned earlier they're a board of trade, and the federal rules for board of trade requires that higher number of board members. You can't get away with 6 or 7. You need that 11 or 12 range. The union contract, as you know, we've approved it, so have they. The question is, why is it not signed yet? One of the union signatories is away on holidays. Upon his return, he will sign the contract, he'll send it out, we will sign the contract, and that will finally be done. So the hold up there is just a holiday issue. And the other night, we had a call out for security services here. So I was unfortunately 8.5 hours away from the building at the time, and I was the only person listed for the alarm company as the key holder. So I did try to reach some of our staff locally to have someone come in, but I couldn't wake anybody up. So what I did instead was I woke up one of my radio staff and brought them over here to check the building. They did find an issue that I can only disclose in camera. But what I'm warning you of is that we need to figure out what to do about that, because I woke the poor man up at 3 a.m. and made him come here and do our job for us. So we have to figure out what we're going to do. At least buy him a chocolate bar or something, because we didn't pay him from the radio station for it. So we have to figure out what. I suggest we do something for him, and we should talk in camera about what was found. But I did have to get him into the building, so I did share my access code to get him in that door to fix the issue, just so you know what happened. That is, I think, everything I have to share. It has been slower because it's summertime. There's not as many meetings now, which is, it's nice to have a little break, but it's also kind of sad you don't see everybody. Anything else for communications or committee reports tonight? Hearing none. Oh, go ahead.
Unfinished business. I got another call about that culvert out by Doug Gates that needs to go in, so that the farmer can get out to the field. And it's getting closer and closer to harvest, and everything sitting there, it just needs to be put in, I believe.
It's an extension, I think.
Okay.
It's an extension. Oh, you don't even need a permit. Right? You don't
Pardon?
need a permit.
Not for an
extension.
extension, no.
That would be 1 169 or 170?
Hugel's Road, so what road number is that? Hugel's, Oaks are on that road.
60.
Map's right there, folks.
No way.
Yeah.
Go look at the map, Councillor Kushniryk.
You go look at it.
He forgot his glasses.
Yeah, I can't read it, so. Where are we here? Here.
No, that's different area.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's 1, 2, would be here. Cause Kazakov's are here, so then you gotta go. No.
We're going the wrong way. Here on this one.
Alright, come on.
65, going up.
No, 'cause there's, yeah.
So he wants, if this is the same road going up, he wants 65.
We're too far.
Yeah, we're too-
Is this the one like
Back here.
that my uncle sold the land? Is that the right one?
No,
Oh,
it's
different
not
one.
sold, that piece.
Okay, no, I'm not thinking the right road, that's why.
It's still his, it's
I'm not
still,
agreeing with it.
it's
No,
It's
I think
still,
way over
uh,
here, Garth Hugo.
I was
his.
thinking it was the one that was a mile
Yeah,
west
this
of
is
me,
the
there was a
Brian's,
culvert
that's
to
what
it,
I'm
that's
saying.
not it.
Backwards.
Yeah, that's the one.
Down here.
But it's an extension, not
So
a,
we're 170.
Then there was something laying in the field that just isn't.
yeah, that's where it is.
170 is Hugo.
Here.
But if
The
they,
170.
they said they'll
Yeah.
they'll fill it in if they have to,
Yeah, it's
cause
170.
Exemi can't get in.
Okay,
But,
so I don't immediately see,
oh, and I got one more thing after, please. Communication. It's more for you, but it's for everybody.
so I don't immediately see a ticket open for that. I see all the other culverts, but I don't see that one, so I'm just gonna add a ticket, I'm gonna give it a high priority.
Well, it's been sitting for
Yeah,
2, yeah.
and
And he's made numerous calls, the landowner.
I know I saw it on the handwritten list, I just don't see on the electronic version, so I'm gonna add it to the electronic version right now, so it's done. Make sure it's not forgotten, and it may be in here and I just missed it, but we will chase it. Your next thing.
So it's Brad's ward, but quite a few complaints about the playground in Benito. Garbage everywhere, disgusting.
Oh.
And that was just 2 days ago. So maybe we could
Okay.
send our green team in there because that is unacceptable.
No.
I went to the cemetery on the weekend, and the neighbor's dogs there just ripped havoc of, took flowers and just, their dogs poop all over the
There's
place, and
9
people that
puppies.
go there to visit the dogs come into there and bark at them, and it's not good.
Okay, so let's have notes for green team to look at the playground.
And
then
maybe
also notes that we need to deal with
the animal control
Animal
needs
control.
to talk, yeah.
an issue for the cemetery.
It's
Just-
right across.
We can get some more details from Councillor Zbirun. I think we know them, but in case we need clarified of which one it is, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else this evening? If not, we're going to take a 10 to 15 minute recess. We'll come back here for in camera after that, discuss a couple things, probably a couple resolutions to come. We'll see how council's feeling. But I think almost everything we're talking about in camera tonight, we've already discussed a bit in the open meeting, so at least everyone knows what's coming. So we'll also find a way to turn the air conditioning on here. Just get a little.
Okay, I got my
warm.
jacket. so
Good job.
we're
We're adjourned for now.
Be it resolved that pursuant to section 1523 of the Municipal Act, the council shall meet as a committee of the whole, close the meeting, and continue discussions in camera regarding personnel matter, negotiations, preliminary discussions, security of our own documents, and property. Is there a mover for the resolution? Councillor Burick, seconded by Councillor Neely. Any other person? Any further discussion?
No, it's really threw me off.
Just for interest's sake, I actually received a telephone call from one of the viewers of one of our previous meetings. They indicated that the best part of the meeting was when Councillor Kushniryk said, "And you call yourself a Reeve." Voting for that. Those in favor of the resolution to go in camera. That's carried.
We should make little extra clips.
So coming out of in camera, we have a few things to return to. We're going to go back to 7.1 on our agenda. We have a resolution. Be resolved that the Municipality of Swan Valley West appoint Neil Dodd as the building inspector as per the agreement attached hereto as Schedule A. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, someone to second the resolution. Let's go to Councillor Zbirun. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We'll move to 7.4. Whereas the Swan Valley is currently developing plans to install centrally monitored security cameras to improve the security of the area, whereas it's desirable for certain Swan Valley West facilities to be monitored by video surveillance and for that video to be available to the monitoring station to facilitate better response to crime, and whereas the selected vendor has approved additional discounts for equipment purchased under the program, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West purchase video surveillance equipment as part of the group purchase process to provide video surveillance in 6 locations at an approximate cost of $1,200 per location. Be it further resolved that the Reeve and CAO be authorized to sign any required agreements to provide the live video to the monitoring center for use in crime reduction programs. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion on this? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. On to 7.5 we go. Whereas the security systems that protect municipal assets at several locations in Swan Valley West require upgrading to continue to offer a high level of security, therefore be it resolved to approve the purchase of upgrades for 5 locations at an approximate cost of $5,000. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk, and a seconder, please. Councillor Burick. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Does anybody else have further business for council this evening?
Just want to say that there's talk that Lido is going to have a fundraiser coming up. They're going to have a comedian come in and do a fundraiser for things. We're supposed to have a meeting Thursday, I believe. So we'll work for that.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, just let you guys know.
For the rate?
Yeah, they got a roof that needs to be repaired.
Okay. Any other business for council this evening? Hearing none. Be it resolved that we adjourn this meeting at 10:11 p.m. Be it further resolved that the next meeting is Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Blosha. I'm feeling fat. Do I need to wear a helmet? Seconded by Councillor Neely.
They usually won't get away, like, I mean,
Any discussion on the resolution?
they don't like their car.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thanks everyone for a great meeting.